No matter where I spend my time on the internet, I can't seem to get away from hearing about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, but I'm certainly not complaining. The game's gonna have close to 874 fighters from many different gaming franchises and genres, with many of them being from third parties, making this the biggest crossover game of all time, and possibly even the second best game, period. However, despite the fact that there's so many third-party characters in the game, not one of them are villains, which is a real missed opportunity, because as great as some of these third-party heroes are, there's a lot more to gaming than just the good guys. After all, without the bad guys being dicks, they wouldn't have been so cool in the first place. And seeing as how there's already plenty of first-party villains in Smash Ultimate, I think it'd be pretty neat to get a handful from outside of Nintendo's bubble. Which ones should join the fight? Well, put your eggs down, report your fathers for neglect, press the subscribe button if you haven't already, and allow me, the future Academy Award-winning Cameron, to tell you 8 villains that should be playable in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Before I begin, let me give you a disclaimer that while I think it'd be cool to have some third-party villains in Smash Ultimate, I think the game's great the way it is, and I'm certainly not complaining about it like many others are. It's just fun to talk about possibilities in a game where they're endless. But if none of these characters ever make it into the game, then you're certainly not going to catch my polio-ridden ass losing any sleep over it. Also, this list isn't going to be in any particular order, nor will I be considering potential movesets too seriously. Because if they came up with a moveset for Pac-Man, then they could probably even figure something out for my neighbor Terry. Also, I'm required by law to tell you I'm a registered poop thief. But now that all that legal mumbo-jumbo's out of the way, let's begin with number 1. Dr. Eggman, or Robotnik. When Sonic was first announced for Smash Bros. Brawl, everybody thought it was cool that we could finally see Mario vs. Sonic in an official game that doesn't take place at the Olympics. However, one dream match that I barely heard anybody ever even bring up is a potential for Eggman vs. Bowser, or Sonic and Mario vs. Eggman and Bowser in a potential subspace mode thingy or something, I don't know. I'm really not one to care too much about seeing who'd win between certain characters, since it really just depends on who's playing the game, but it's just the principle of how cool it'd be for Eggman to be in the mix. And I think there's a lot of potential as far as movesets are concerned based on his various robotic creations from over the years. And a final Smash with Metal Sonic or something being involved would be pretty cool too. All I know is that if we're talking about third-party villains in a crossover game with these types of characters, I think Eggman would be the most obvious choice. Number 2. Gruntilda. When I'm talking about potential villains for Smash Ultimate, I don't just mean ones from franchises that are already in the game. And at the time of this video, I know it's a long shot to see Banjo-Kazooie in the game, let alone Grunty, but if the stars aligned and made this possible, then passing her up would be a huge missed opportunity. It might make more sense to have her as a stage boss while constantly taunting you until she finally appears, but I think having her as a fully playable fighter would offer a good amount of variety to the roster, as there currently aren't many witches present. I suppose Kamek's kinda like a witch, and he'd be way more realistic, but Gruntilda's cooler, you bozo. Number 3. Bison, or Vega, cause Capcom USA ruined it in the 90s.
Of course!
Ryu being included in Smash made perfect sense, what with the game being in the fighting genre and Street Fighter being notable on the Super Nintendo, but even though one Street Fighter character may be enough for most people, and even though I'm personally not a die-hard fan of the series, I can't deny how well Bison would fit in. And like other characters on this list, his franchise is already in the game, so why not just toss him in there? I mean, personally, I don't think Bison's as cool as other Street Fighter villains, but he's plenty cool enough and more than essential if any bad guys from Street Fighter make the cut. And adding any other Street Fighter villains would be like putting Tails in the game before Sonic. Number 4.
Dr. Wowie.
I know there may only be room for one evil doctor in Smash Ultimate, seeing as how they pretty much have to rely on robots to stand a fighting chance, and I really wanted to add Neo Cortex instead just to make the list less predictable. However, I ultimately chose Wily, not only for the potential of all of his various creations over so many different Mega Man games, but mainly because watching him bow if he got second place or lower would be hilarious. I know most of his robot machines are probably too big, but if Ridley's in the game then anything's possible, even though Ridley was originally this big. But I guess the original Metroid's pretty much been retconned, since they not only increased Ridley's size, but unfortunately they also decreased the size of Samus's ass. Speaking of franchises that decreased ass sizes for Smash Bros though, number 5. Psycho Mantis. Haha, you thought I was just gonna pick main villains. And it may have made the most sense to pick Liquid Ocelot, seeing as how he's kind of a 2-for-1 deal, but I'm really not choosing Psycho Mantis just to swerve you. In fact, I actually wrote an entire entry for Liquid Ocelot before I realized that Snake intentionally doesn't use guns as weapons because Nintendo thinks they're too realistic, unlike Bayonetta's pistols, I suppose. And with a main villain whose name literally used to be Revolver, there's just no way to get around leaving his trademark realistic-looking name-branded handguns absent. Thankfully though, one of the best things about the Metal Gear series is the countless classic villains there are to choose from for Smash Ultimate, and while many of them don't use guns, in my opinion, Psycho Mantis would easily be the best choice for Smash Ultimate. Not only does he not use guns, but there's also plenty of Easter egg potential for him to read his opponent's minds, as well as the player's save data like he did in Metal Gear Solid. Plus, it'd be easy as hell to think of a good moveset, and the character himself would stand out from everybody else on the roster. Number 6. Shadow the Hedgehog. While Shadow may technically not be a villain, he has been known to get into enough mischief from time to time for me to consider him one for this list. The Sonic series might be oversaturated with characters, but Shadow in particular has a sizable following. And even though those fans probably already play Smash Bros and it wouldn't bring anybody new to the series, Shadow could easily just be an echo fighter for Sonic. So if it'd be that easy to do, make a lot of people happy, and have a little more villain representation in Smash, then why not just do it? Well, wait a minute, what's wrong? Are you still mad about Shadow's anti-hero status not counting as a villain? Then fine, you know what? Now I'm gonna change my pick to Solaris from Sonic 06. Now Shadow's gone from the game forever, and we're never gonna get to play as him, so I hope you're all happy. Number 7. Sephiroth. I mean, obviously, if you include a villain from Final Fantasy, it's gotta be Sephiroth. In fact, it'd be worth putting him in the game based on his final smash alone, which couldn't be anything other than the supernova attack that destroys the entire solar system, yet somehow could be done multiple times. I don't really feel like I need to say a whole lot here, since Sephiroth's one of the most popular gaming villains of all time. And with Cloud already being in the game, there probably wouldn't be that much legal work to just toss him in there. But aside from being deserving of the spot, including him on the list was essential for my next entry to be socially acceptable, which would be number 8, Kefka. I know there aren't any Final Fantasy VI characters in Smash Ultimate, but with Final Fantasy VI being the peak of the series when it was exclusive to Nintendo, I think the game needs some representation. And no disrespect to that game's protagonists, who I'm sure are gonna punch me in the winky after watching this video, but Kefka's just an ass hair more iconic. And not only that, but like some of my choices on this list, he'd add a lot of variety to the roster. I mean, I don't think there's too many short-tempered, nihilistic, murderous jesters elsewhere in the game anyway. And even though a lot of Kefka's fanbase is a smidge pretentious about how great of a villain he is, I can't exactly disagree that he's often overshadowed in favor of Sephiroth. And I'm not saying one's better than the other, but if Cloud can make it into Smash Bros despite being a PS1 mascot, then I don't see any reason why Kefka can't join the party as well. What third-party villains do you want to see in Smash Bros though? Whether or not their franchises are even a part of Smash, let me know what you think in the comments below, and as always, I'll pin whatever I find most entertaining. Don't forget to like and share this video to help this channel grow, press the subscribe button if you're not pissed at me for counting Shadow as a villain, and thanks to everybody who supports us on Patreon for silly rewards. My name's Cameron, and I'll see you next time.
So I want to say thank you to your loyalty, thank you for your support.